guys, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and well, I got some new balls I want to share with you. As a matter of fact, I know we're into 2018, but this will be the last clutch update from the last clutch of 2017. So this is our end of the year babies, which came very, very late. You saw us live cut them. Now I'm going to show you what we got. So before I get started, let me tell you, I'll be honest, I'm confused. And this is one of those problems when you start, having the snake menage a trois. What I mean by that is never put two males in with one female for breeding purposes unless it's just a little bit of combat to get breeding started. But we had a male that we didn't think was locking, so we switched to a different male that we then saw lock. But now the confusion is, who's your daddy? And that's what I'm not really sure on. So I'll tell you guys the potential, and maybe some of you out there have more experience with these morphs as babies than I do, because these aren't things I'm very familiar with as hatchlings. If you do, feel free to chime in and tell me what you think. We'll start with the first one. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to start with the first one. You don't get to see that, so I forgot something. We should start with the parents. Let's see if we can show you. This was the mother. This is definitely the mom. No doubt there, okay? Orange Dream female right there. That's mama. That we know. Got no doubts about that one. Here's where it gets weird, okay? For a while, she was dating this guy right here. This is what we purchased as a Super Pastel Spotnose. Now, I didn't breed it, I didn't produce it, so again, we're going off of what we were told, which is actually what somebody else was told, right? Because they didn't produce it either. Remember that we did the video about helping out the hobby, and I talked about my friend that had the horrible motorcycle accident, and so we purchased a few snakes from him and held some others for him? You're going to run around, I'm just going to put you back. This was one of the ones that we purchased from him. One of the other ones we held was another female Super Pastel Spotnose that he wanted to keep, because I advised his wife to keep, she was going to keep 3 snakes, keep 2 females and 1 male, and the Super Pastel Spotnose female would be one that I advised her to keep because of the potential for breeding and the Super Pastel and never making normal. So she kept that one. Let me get this other now. He is not breeding. And this is the other possible daddy, our Enchi male. So, now, this is a project that was more of a Kurt-centric project, because this is a snake that Kurt wanted to pick up, and this was actually one of Kurt's first snakes, was the Enchi male. He picked up an Enchi and a lesser male for his first animal. So, he was really excited. We started putting this Enchi to it, or to that Orange Dream, which is also one of Kurt's snakes that he bought. First expensive snake Kurt bought, before we all kind of combined everything. We were working together, but it wasn't all one yet. So he was really excited about this project, threw that Enchi in there, and nothing happened. It was like a junior high dance. Over here and over here, nobody mixed in the middle, right? Unless you went to the same junior high I did. Anyway, so, nothing going on. Well, so then we said, well, we want to make sure she gets bred. We tried this guy, because we thought Pastel Orange Dream, hey, it'd look good. And guess what? Actually, you don't go in there. What am I doing? What am I doing, Kurt? I'm about to screw that all up. You go back in here. And we saw locks. We observed several locks. So Kurt was assuming that, hey, the Super Pastel Spotnose was a dad. Now I can tell you this. If he's the only dad, okay, then he's not a Super Pastel Spotnose. He's just a Pastel Spotnose. We may have 2 dads. We could have a dual-sired clutch. So let's look in here, and I'll show you the first snake and why I'm starting to think all this. That is snake number 1. Now, just for purpose of letting you guys see some of the differences here, somewhere over here, I thought I still had a normal. I do. This is a normal. It's a little bit bigger normal, but you can see the colors are not the same. Now, I almost wonder if that's not showing possibly some Enchi, but I think more likely than that, this one might have Orange Dream. Let us see. And here's why I'm wondering that. Again, I haven't produced these as babies till this time. But you can really see a lot of that orange coming in the tail. But then you also have a good amount of banding, which makes me wonder if that's not showing traits of that, or maybe traits of both. So, before I can say this is that, I'm going to have to let that shut out again. What I can tell you is I don't think this is this. Look, Mickey Mouse and no, can't say that, Mikey Mouse. So I think this is two different animals, obviously. So that was number 1. And that, Kurt's going to be excited, is a little male. So Kurt was really hoping to find a male. Now this is my favorite one out of the group. Don't you bite me. This is why I think it's at least dual-sired, because I'm pretty sure there's pastel in that snake. Now, I don't think it's just pastel. I think what you're looking at there, see the orange coming in there? I think you're very likely looking at the orange dream showing up with the pastel in there. The head is very blushed, but not like a super pastel would be. See that? It's just really nice and clean, but the color is very, very light. The belly is very, very nice. Just very clean. A lot less dirty than a pastel normally is down through there. And that orange, you can see the color yellow and orange. See that? I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Yellow and orange. You can see that orange coming up through there in those flames. And a lot of it back through in here where the orange dream tends to really show. So, I think, you already had a poop, didn't you? I think that one is very likely pastel orange dream. Notice I said likely, because I'm sure on nothing yet. You didn't have a poop. You go in here. We just leave the normal out to compare. Alright. Moving on to number 3. Oh, and for the sake of argument, all these were female, except for the one that already was a male. Now, your guess is as good as mine. I think what we may have here is, this is possibly just going to be a normal. The other thing is, could it be Spotnose? It is lighter. There's a little bit of a head stamp, but I don't think it's enough of a head stamp to really make me say Spotnose. So I think what we may have here is quite possibly just your run-of-the-mill normal ball python. And I'm going to leave that one out too. I'll put it back in its cage and set it over here for a purpose that I want to show you for comparison here in a minute. Okay, on number 4. And again, this is another one that I think, like I said, wouldn't get too excited on this clutch because the odds are not overly kind to us. And you can see this one also appears a lot like that. I think we may be dealing with just a normal. It does have some head spotting, but not what I'm used to seeing, so I don't think it's necessarily a spot nose, but it's possible, I guess. I think it's just going to be a normal, though. And the belly, you can see, is pretty normal looking. You know, a lot like this guy's belly. See? So I think that's what we're dealing with here. And he goes right there. And one more to show you before I go back and do a little comparison. Look at that. Yeah. So again, what are you seeing there, Kurt? Anything special?
No.
And I'm kind of with Kurt. Now, some people are going to get nitpicky and say, oh, but look, it's got the flames and a little bit of that speckling. But if you look, normals have some speckling, and normals often have flames. And this is certainly 100% just a normal. Is there any remarkable difference in these two? Is there slight color differences? Sure, they have different parents. It doesn't make this a morph. I'm pretty certain that this is going to be just a normal at the end of the day. So, what does that mean? Well, I know I kept that one out for some comparison purposes. Let me put it back up there. Put you back in here. Now, this one, 03, is one of the interesting ones. I would say 1 and 2 are also very interesting ones. I wanted to get a shot of all those together. Alright, here's the thing. Let me show you something. If this is something, it's definitely different than that. No doubt about it. I think that is your orange dream. And this is so wildly different. I can put them all 3 together and tell them apart. I'm not worried about that at all. You can see the 3 that I think are interesting. You can see the orange coming out when you have the comparison. Even though this one is lighter and appears to have maybe something going on, then you've got this one here. What my hope is, what I'm starting to wonder, is, do we have an Enchi in here? Is that what's going on? Because if we do, and if anybody's good at recognizing, let me know, because then that would tell me that we're certainly dual sired. Unless this is how Orange Dream plays with Enchi. And I don't think it is. I am pretty, like, the head says pastel, and the blushing there says pastel. The blushing on the sides says pastel. Everything about this snake tells me pastel, but with something else going on, the orange, I'm saying pretty certain on that one. The rest of them are kind of a confusing mess. They really, really are. Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, it kind of has me to believe that snake isn't a Super Pastel.
That's what you're thinking, huh?
Yeah.
That's possible, but I'm almost leaning towards possibly with dual sired. That's what I'm leaning towards. And here's why I kind of do think that. One, we put both of them in there several times. So that can certainly cause that. And we look at this snake here. We look at the patterning of it, and our Enchi that we're using. So remember, the parents are they're not just passing on. Enchi is always Enchi, but how the parent looks is gonna present some of that. So like if you wanted more banding in your Enchi, and you had a bunch of Enchis, you'd want to hold back all of them with a lot of banding. But Enchis tend to have banding, almost a band, banding, banding, banding. So you see a lot of that influence there. And Enchis tend to have some coloration differences down there. Where did I put you? I put you here. Ooh, we're all like shy and nervous. Come here, buddy. Don't be afraid of that big old girl. Now, look at this big old guy here, and you're going to start to see some of those same traits. Banding, 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 almost a full band. So you're going to see that. And then, when you look down in, you can see the color differential of the tail. The belly appears to be faded but patterned. Our rodents who are about to be fed are starting to fight. Let's see if I can get you to unroll the hair a little bitty buddy. Here, you can see, now here's something interesting. That looks like it has het pied marks, right? The tracks, but we know it's not het pied. Let me show you something cool. Oh man, you did get wrapped in there. Come on. This is why I think anything, there may also be Orange Dream in there. So you pooped a log out. Orange Dream tend to frequently have what appears to be track marks. See them? This isn't a het pied, okay? But they tend to do that on their belly markings. They can fool a few people. So what I'm wondering, and then again, you can also see the side color difference. But on her, we do have a little bit of that banding look. But look, everything is alien headed. Where the Enchi tends not to have all that alien heading. Keep her up there, Kurt, if you can. Sorry, getting too much going on here. And you can see a lot less of the alien heading. A few single spots, but not a lot of the doubles, which we're starting to see through here, although her pattern is kind of wonky. But you can see a set difference. This is what happens when I get 15 billion snakes going. Have to remember all who is breeding who. Who are you breeding? You are breeding. Where did you? Oh, God, I did it again. You're supposed to be. Oh, you're not breeding. That's where I'm supposed to be. You're the Orange Dream. You're breeding nobody right now. You're in your own tank. I already put the Enchi up. And here, what you end up seeing is a lot of that banding, but you don't see the alien head markers, right? See that? You see the het pied marking looking lines. So it's got me confused. It's got me confused. I'll be honest. I don't know what's going on. So what we'll end up having to do is let these shed out a few more times before we make a determination. However, I didn't want to wait before I filmed that video to do that, because you guys know we always do the live egg cutting, then you see a live clutch update. That's part of our full disclosures. We want you to see that when I say, we hatched 5 out of 5 or we hatched 7 out of 7, I want you to see them and know that we did. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys. If I have a set of 7 eggs and 3 babies die, I'm going to show you 4 and tell you 3 died. And you know I will, because I've done it before. I think if we didn't release this clutch and we kind of kept it hidden until we knew exactly what we had, I'd have people who'd be like, why is he not showing it? Is something wrong? So you get the full disclosure on a clutch that I cut live, so you can see we did 5 out of 5 and what they are. and we'll get them all identified eventually. Sometimes what we have to do is find other people who will work with those genes more than we have them come in, have them help us in our identification. We had to do with our fire clutch because we weren't used to them as babies, where we're really good with certain things. We're not as strong in others, and that's pretty normal as you get to go with this. All right, Kurt, you got any questions? He does. I like when he asks questions.
If you do put 2 males to 1 female, what do you think would the odds of them both being the father of the clutch?
It's hard to say. I mean, it just depends on if they're both breeding, how the female does with the sperm. I think it's kind of a crapshoot. It's really hard to just put odds on that. And here's how that dual siring works, okay? I think, and believe it or not, I do believe it's actually happened in humans a few times. Look that up. It's been on the Maury Show, I do believe. And with a snake, she's going to basically, without getting how their whole body's going to work, how it works different, they're going to have so many eggs inside. Okay, let's say it's 6. This one's 5, but let's say we had 6. So you got 6 eggs in there. And she's retaining these sperm from these different males she's breeding. What you can't do is this egg here is only going to have one father. This can have a father. This can have a different father. This can have the same father as this one, so can this one. They can all be different. You can have 6 different dads. If she bred 6 different snakes, that would be rare. But she's going to use some of that sperm to fertilize each egg. And she may use different sperm from different males in doing so. But you'll never have a snake with 3 parents. So you won't have a snake that has 2 dads in them all. Okay, genetically. So if I bred that Super Pastel Spotnose and that Enchi to 1 female, like in this case, this Orange Dream, what I can do is get Pastel Orange Dreams, Spotnose Pastel Orange Dreams, Enchi Orange Dreams. What I can't get is a Pastel Enchi Orange Dream. That can't happen. I cannot take both those male genetics, put them in that female so they can get all 3 to come out. I think people get confused on that. Think, well, I'll put 3 males in there, 3 single gene males into a single gene female and try to get a 4 gene snake. It's not going to happen. Okay, that's not how that works. So you don't have a dual father per egg, but you do have a dual sired clutch. Is what I think you can start running into. In this case, though, where it gets very confusing is that we didn't produce that male. So is it possible it's just a funky looking snake and there's no Enchi in there? Yeah, and then it's possibly, do we hit on pastel once, a miss on Spotnose completely? I mean, that light one's a Spotnose, and that's all we got, 2 Orange Dreams, a Spotnose and a Pastel Orange Dream? Yeah, that could be it. That could be exactly what's going on. So it's really hard when it's not animals that you really worked for. It also makes it very hard when you start dealing with recessives. If you're expecting visual recessives and you get none, you have to start worrying about, is this going to be X, Y, or Z? And that's why, too, with my visual or my het recessive females like Pandora, who produce my zebra bee, I'm only putting visual males to her. Because I don't ever want to put just a het male to her and run the risk of her producing a baby that is not visual, that then I say is 100% het, can be wrong, even though it was from a breeding a few years back, because they can retain sperm for a couple of years and produce babies the following season from a dad 2 years ago. So for instance, I'm breeding my het axanthic female pastel to a pastel axanthic this year with the hope of super pastel axanthics, right? She could still throw a spider from last year's pairing. So you got to be kind of careful in how you do it. That's why that tracking is just so damn important. So when something funny happens, you can go back and try to figure out what exactly is going on. And that's a really long answer to that question, most likely. Kurt, do you have any more questions at all?
Nope.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we'll get those identified, and then you may see some of them come available soon. However, you won't see them come available until after they've been on Patreon first. Them's the rules. So jump on that Patreon, check it out. We want to keep that growing. It lets us do a lot of cool stuff. And for those of you who have said that, hey, that Patreon's a cash grab and is greed and all this, I want to be very, very clear. If anything that we do is at all money-based for us, it's actually what we're doing right now. The only payment Kurt and I ever get is a little pittance that YouTube gives us a month. We do, after 3 years, have started keeping that for ourselves and breeding. But all of our animal money that we make has gone back into the animals. We've never taken a dime. And every dime from Patreon has gone back into our business, into our animals, our collection, our equipment, and shows. So we haven't taken a dime. So it is not a greed cash grab. It's how we fund things we want to do. we want to grow this channel. We were just talking today before we started filming about going places and filming on location at places where we can travel to here and film and, you know, collab with other reptile folks across the country. But those things take money. You know, they just do. That's just the way the world works. Gas ain't free. So that's one of the things that's going to help us to do that. So go check that Patreon out. It's also a great way to get snakes and specials from us and get some free cool stuff like these awesome ass t-shirts. All right, guys, we will see you soon. I'll see you next week, actually.